What's going on, guys? I am in a weird, different place. A magical and mystical place, as I like to call it. I'm sitting in the house of the one and only Flick Pick.
And it's good to be here, Chris. It's finally nice to see you once again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different because one of the things I wanted to do when I came to John's house was do something special. It's cool to do movie reviews, but every once in a while I like to do something a little bit different on this channel. And something that I've heard a lot from you guys is to do more discussion-oriented videos, more in-depth videos on various topics, things that, you know, a lot of people ask us about. And one of the biggest things that I think both of us hear is this whole thing that exists about fanboying. And the fact that it's like a thing now.
It's a bad thing. It's like a plague on the movie universe.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. And when there's too much hype and it's a blind hype, it's never a good thing.
And we want to make sure that we don't come off as like these people who are just saying, oh, well, you know, your opinion's wrong, my opinion's right. It's really just going to be a discussion about sometimes how fanboying or not fanboying can affect someone's perception of a movie. And I think better than just like explaining what we feel fanboying is, let's just give you an example. Wow, it's the Batman fanboy in the flesh. How are you today, sir?
Not as good as Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin.
Well, that's not true. So, Mr. Batman fanboy, did you really love The Dark Knight Rises?
Absolutely!
Why did you love The Dark Knight Rises?
Because it had Batman in it!
Oh, okay. Well, what about the whole pit thing? With, you know, putting Christian Bale in the pit.
Oh, Mr. Wayne, we're here in the pit, and over here we have our magical chiropractor. One hit to the back, and you will be fine. Also, we have the cable television available 24/7. You may watch the reruns of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that come on, as well as the destruction of Gotham, and then you have my permission to die.
Listen, if I was Bruce Wayne in that pit, I would have watched reruns of Batman and Robin on TNT. That's what he should have been doing. Phenomenal movie. It had Batman in it.
In our opinion, that's what fanboying over a movie is. It's really easy to see a film that we want to love and expect, I'm going to love this movie. And I'm going to be totally real with you guys. I'm not going to act like I didn't do this myself. I gave The Dark Knight Rises an A+. That's my highest grade. I wanted to love that movie so much. I still really do love the film. I think it's a really well-directed movie. Does it have plot holes? Abso-fucking-lutely. The point is, sometimes plot holes don't necessarily make you dislike a film simply because they're there. I mean, I love The Dark Knight Rises as a movie because it affected me emotionally. I felt that it was an emotionally investing movie, as well as a movie that understood the character of Batman to the point where I felt that it was a good movie. Now, yeah, plot holes galore. I acknowledge them. I still love the movie, though, and so there's a difference because I don't go into that movie and just start making up excuses for how did Bruce Wayne get back into Gotham so magically? Well, he just did.
And I completely agree. We both love Batman, and I wasn't blind to the plot holes in The Dark Knight Rises. I agree. How did he get back in Gotham? But you know what? When you have a movie like that, sometimes the ends justify the means, and you can overlook those small plot holes because the performances and the overall story is so good that you almost forget about them when you're watching the movie, and it's only when you go back and really, really think about it and try to nitpick that you find them.
Exactly. And so there's a major difference between loving something and just being like, no, none of those problems matter, or just wanting to really enjoy a film, watching said film, recognizing there are problems in it, but still enjoying the experience. And that was me in The Dark Knight Rises. And we don't want to come off like we're talking down to people because, as I just said, it's easy to be really excited about a character we love. And I've been accused many times of being a fanboy. Like, I've been accused of being an M. Night Shyamalan fanboy, that I've allowed myself to like more of his films than other people simply because, you know, he affected me a lot with his first few movies. I've been accused of being a superhero fanboy, of being an action movie fanboy. And sure, I mean, if you're saying I'm a big fan of some of these characters or some of these movies, then absolutely I am. But I try not to let that cloud my judgment of the movie's issues. Like, for instance, when I went into Avengers Age of Ultron, I wanted to give that movie my highest grade. I wanted to love it as much as I did the first one. But with Ultron, I went into it and I was like, you know, I had a really good time with that movie. movie, but it certainly had problems.
I agree, there's nothing wrong with being in love with a movie character and wanting to love that movie so much, but sometimes when a movie doesn't live up to the hype, it's okay to still like that movie as long as you're aware that it wasn't that good of a movie. I love shitty movies, but I'm aware that they're shitty movies.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what a lot of people don't notice, that fanboy out on things.
Like Pixels. Like for me, when I was a kid, Episode 1, Phantom Menace, was the movie that everyone looked forward to. I mean, understand that now with Force Awakens, it's very similar to before Phantom Menace came out. The added benefit is that we have the prequels now to look back on. We didn't have that then. All we had was good Star Wars. Yeah. We had that slight hint in Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks. It was like a hint, like, this might not always be perfect.
And when it comes to the Ewoks, the best thing they could have done with those characters is skin them alive and made jackets out of them.
Okay. Phantom menacing. Phantom menacing is a term I made up. You're so excited for a film, like, for instance, Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Then you see the movie, you're in denial about how bad it actually is. And you spend the next months, years, just saying, this movie was really good, guys! Defending it all the time. You're saying everything is right about it, and then, like, 2 years later, you're like, it wasn't really that good.
And that reminds me of a story, Chris. When I was 12 years old, my first Star Wars experience in a movie theater was The Phantom Menace. And as a kid, your brain's a little bit soft, a little bit mushy. It's almost like baby food. It's almost going to leak out of your ear if you lay on your pillow too long. But when I watched The Phantom Menace as a young kid, 12 years old, I kind of enjoyed the movie. I thought Jar Jar Binks was an okay character, but years later, when my brain developed, I realized how bad the movie was. So I came to the conclusion it was a bad movie, even though I like Star Wars.
Exactly, and when I first saw Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that was my exact experience. I was in denial for a long time. I would defend the film online. I would tell people, no, it was actually good. This is before I started my YouTube channel and got more passionate about filmmaking. I was just on message boards all day, like, no, Indiana Jones, it has this, it has that, there's metaphors, there's meaning, it means something. You know, Shia LaBeouf in the Crystal Skull, there's something there that you guys aren't experiencing. And the movie sucks. It's not good.
Absolutely.
And it took me years to realize that, and that's what I'm talking about. Phantom menacing. One of my biggest ones, and I'm telling you guys this, it happened to me, for about a month, was The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man came out, okay? 2012. People were reading magazines. People were seeing images of Andrew Garfield with web shooters. Holy shit! Web shooters! This movie's gonna be awesome. They're following the comics. He has web shooters. It's gonna be great. People saw the film. Oh my god, it's so much better. It's so good. And now, years later, what does everyone basically say about the first two Amazing Spider-Man films?
Well, a lot of people think they're really good movies. But people who come to the conclusion of thinking before they talk say they're really shitty movies, because when you really break down what makes a bad comic book movie, you first look at Batman and Robin, and then you look at The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it has the exact same flaws that Batman and Robin has. Too many villains, it's quickly rushed, and it's like somebody wrote the script with a crayon in 4 minutes.
Yeah, there are so many parts in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that make no sense. Like Peter magically finding this coin in a calculator that he broke against a wall that then allows him into an underground subway creation from his now deceased father with a computer message to him that tells him exactly what he needs to know in that moment. That's filmmaking. Because when I first saw The Amazing Spider-Man, this was the first time I ever took back a grade on my YouTube channel. I did a video for it. I gave it an A-. I said it was good. It was exciting. I was wrapped up in it. And I made a huge post like a month later on my Facebook page saying, guys, I was wrong. I saw the movie again. I don't know what happened. I was blinded by this. And that was me fanboying. That was me fanboying over Spider-Man because I've grown up with Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I watch Spider-Man cartoons. I watch the live-action TV show. Like there's like 13 episodes of it where he walks on the ground and they just turn the camera this way to make it look like he was walking up the wall. I mean, I've always loved Spider-Man. I used to pretend to be Spider-Man walking down the steps as a kid. Like I would crouch on the steps and I'd be like, watch, I'm Spider-Man. My parents would watch me. So that was me fanboying. That was me wanting it to be good. But I came to my senses and realized that it just wasn't.
It's okay, Chris. We all make mistakes. But those who admit their mistakes are stronger men than those who don't. Remember that. When it comes to Peter Parker, he's kind of a reclusive, nerdy kid. He likes to take pictures. But in this movie, Andrew Garfield's character and interpretation of Peter Parker in my high school, he would have been cool and popular and getting all the chicks, and he kind of almost did get all the chicks. And in The Amazing Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy was immediately into him in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't even have to work for her.
Right.
But there's one scene, I quickly want to talk about it, and ever since I've seen the movie, it's been like a nail in the side of my brain. He's sitting in a football stadium. No one knows he's Spider-Man. He takes a football, throws it at the goalpost, and it bends in front of like 400 people.
I agree with you. How about the time when they're playing basketball and he's like, oh, let me play with you. And then Flash Thompson has the basketball and he just takes it and he starts faking him out. He starts putting it behind him. He starts holding like this and then he dunks and shatters the backboard. Shatters it. Peter Parker, skate punk Peter Parker, the really cool science nerd who takes photos and can't get girls. Our point with all this is not to just hate on The Amazing Spider-Man. We know a lot of people like it, but I've seen comment after comment after comment about that film since 2012 telling me that I am wrong. You're allowed to like the movie. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that it's really easy to get so excited about something that you want to be good and then allow the fact that it was actually kind of mediocre to not really permeate your brain and just be like, no, it's good, I know it's good. I mean, I know how that feels, okay? I know how that feels. I'm getting to that point now where even if I'm really excited for a movie, I can still acknowledge it just missed the mark.
That reminds me of what we said a little bit earlier about loving a movie, even though it has some mistakes, but overall, as long as the story is good, you can kind of overlook those mistakes like The Dark Knight Rises. But with a movie like Amazing Spider-Man, those little mistakes stand out so much because the overall story of Amazing Spider-Man isn't all that great. Now, we could sit here and talk for about 3 hours about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and how terrible that movie is, but let's just face it. It's a bad movie.
It is. And it's funny, because even that film, I would like to not have given it a B-, which is what I gave it. You know? I mean, to me, that's my lowest positive grade. And there were elements of the film that I liked, but it really is a disappointing movie overall, and just a very weak narrative. And a lot of the things that happen in it just don't make sense. Yeah, I enjoyed the performances overall, but that's really it. Even the action didn't really feel like it had much going on in it. And for me personally, I'm not sure about you, but for me personally, one of the things I hear the most is that you need to not be so critical. You need to turn off your brain and just have fun. You need to accept movies for just being mindlessly enjoyable. I heard that a lot with Terminator Genesis. It's a movie that I saw, didn't like it all. I don't think it's good. There's maybe like 1 or 2 scenes I enjoyed in the entire film. And that's not because I went in wanting to hate the movie. I would love if Terminator Genesis was good. It just wasn't good, in my opinion. But I heard a lot of people who were telling me, Chris, you just need to turn off your brain and have fun.
Getting a comment saying turn off your brain probably isn't the best advice to give to someone who's trying to be critical for a film. Huh? Probably not. Yeah. But as far as turning off your brain, well, if we all did that, you know what kind of movies you would get? A lot of Amazing Spider-Man 2s. Yeah. And that's essentially the only movies we wouldn't have classics like T2 Judgment Day. We wouldn't have Rocky. We wouldn't have The Shawshank Redemption. We just have a whole bunch of Amazing Spider-Man 2s.
Exactly. And that's what I fear could happen. Because studios are seeing that as a trend. That people are like, well, that movie was good enough. Or that movie was fine. Stop hating on it. It wasn't that bad. We want great movies. Look, I enjoyed Jurassic World. It was a fun movie. But if you were to pick one word to describe Jurassic World, I would say disappointing. Because it wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a phenomenal film. It was a fun, enjoyable movie. But it wasn't a great film. I saw that movie with a very good friend of mine. His name's Matt. He is a humongous Jurassic Park fan. He collects the toys. He has posters, the books. He's read anything and everything there is to know about Jurassic Park. And even him leaving that movie, he just had this look on his face. Like,
sadness.
Yes.
Disappointment.
Like it just affected him, you know? It kind of touched him, and it was just like, it wasn't what I needed, you know? Even though it was fun. And that's a lot of things I heard in my review as well, was that you guys need to just have fun with Jurassic World. Listen, studios are listening. They're listening. And they're making a Jurassic World too. And if everyone just keeps telling them that that was what we need to see, we need more of Jurassic World. We need that exact type of movie again. They're going to make that exact type of movie again. It will still be fun, probably, and enjoyable to watch, but they need to make great movies, and continuously saying, oh, just have fun with it. That movie was good enough, I think is really damaging to us as film enthusiasts, because we want to see great movies, not just movies that were fine.
And it's not only people fanboy out about Terminator Genesis, which, by the way, I think is atrocious, just from every standard of a film. It's a letdown as an action movie, it's a letdown as a Terminator film. But here's my thing. Some people on the internet say that's the best Terminator film of all time. And I ask those people, have you watched Terminator 2 Judgment Day? Because when you make a comparison between both those films, what action sequence in Terminator Genesis is better than any action sequence in Terminator 2 Judgment Day? There isn't one. And it hurts when people say that. physically and mentally. Sometimes I just lay in the fetal position at night doing the Arnold impression until I wake up in the morning covered in my own tears and sweat, Chris. Now listen, we both love Jurassic Park. You love it almost too much as a human being.
Maybe.
And I love Jeff Goldblum too much as a human being. And the biggest thing with the new Jurassic World movie was it almost felt soulless at times, and it felt like all that magical character development that we got in the first previous films. Here it was just like, here's a CGI dinosaur, everybody, and it was almost like the Fast and Furious of Jurassic Park films.
Yeah, I can see that. And that's the mentality that I think studios are latching onto. They want to show big, cool things. What Spielberg did so well with that first movie was he did show us big, awesome things, but the reason we loved it so much is because it was all from the perspective of those characters that we loved even more. You know, I mean, who knew who Sam Neill was? Nobody. No one really knew who Laura Dern was. No one knew who those actors were. They weren't big names, but we suddenly cared because we felt the story through them. And that's something that I think Jurassic World was missing. They had a lot of characters. They were fun, enjoyable performances done by great actors, and it was a good-looking movie, but there just wasn't that soul. I think you got it right. There wasn't that soul there. It felt very mechanical in a way, like a processed film that was designed to hit certain beats very well, but it didn't really give you that heart.
And don't get me wrong, I love dinosaurs. I love to see dinosaurs doing things on the screen, but the thing about Jurassic World is the characters were all so likable, besides Chris Pratt, that you wanted to see those dinosaurs win and eat them alive and mutilate their bodies on screen. Or at least I did.
No, I mean, I can understand what you're saying, actually. I mean, that's one of the things that Jurassic Park did so well, was that when a character died, unless they were a villain, like the lawyer, you know, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus, oh.
Excuse me, you are going to have Jeff Goldblum in your next Jurassic World movie?
I really hate that man.
And hey, Chris, speaking of Jurassic Park, did you know it was originally based on a novel?
Speaking of based on a novel, one of the biggest things that I see on YouTube is, oh my god, they're making a movie out of my favorite book series. It's gonna be great! It's gonna be the best movie ever!
I don't make love. I fuck hard.
That was great. That was great.
Are you gonna leave that in?
Yes. But seriously though, I got a comment once from a viewer, and you know, nothing against you if you're watching this video, but this individual said, you can't review 50 Shades of Grey because you didn't read the book. And I was like, actually, I think it's probably better that way because I'm less biased. I didn't read the book, I'm not a fan walking in, and I can give you an actual review of the movie. Because a lot of times, like for instance, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, I think we both had this experience where when we said that film was disappointing and pretty much a mediocre average movie that didn't really have anything happening, it was really just a movie that should have been one movie that was stretched apart into two to make more money, and there was no real beginning, middle, or end to it. It just felt like this strange middle thing that was just like nothing happened. And a lot of people told us both, you're wrong. You're wrong. That movie's amazing because people read the book and they infuse those emotions that they had while reading the book into their film experience. But I think for someone like you and I who went and saw Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, we just were like, this doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like a to-be-continued TV episode.
That's not a real movie. That is a simple cash grab. They took a real movie, they spliced it in half and said, hey guys, here's part of it. We want you to buy the other part later. And that's just cheating the fans. And I think as a true fan of the novels, you should feel cheated by that movie because that wasn't a conclusive movie and they didn't give you the story that they were supposed to give you.
So to wrap the video up, I think it's really important that we talk about just basically what fanboying really is. It's loving something so much to the point where you overlook all flaws and continue to defend it forever, even though it's maybe not that great. And for instance, I've been accused of being a Dragon Ball Z fanboy. You know what? I am. I grew up with Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I go to see Dragon Ball Z films when they're released. I usually have a great time. I've loved the show my entire life. That being said, not a fan of Dragon Ball GT. It's the third incarnation of Dragon Ball. It was not really involved too much with the creator Akira Toriyama, and I can't even get through it. I've tried twice to watch that show. I've gotten to like episode 10 or 11 or 12, and I can't finish it because there's no soul to it. Let's also talk about my least favorite movie of all time, Dragon Ball Evolution. The worst fucking abomination in film. And that is a Dragon Ball product. And I hate it. And I can't get through Dragon Ball GT. So my point is that even though I love Dragon Ball Z, I love it when it's good. I still acknowledge when it's not good. And so that's really what fanboying is and what fanboying isn't. I'm a fanboy for good Dragon Ball Z. I'm a fanboy for good Captain America, for good Spider-Man, for good Batman. But when it's not good, I'm going to acknowledge that. And for instance, with The Dark Knight Rises, it's got plot holes, but I can't look at that movie and say, that's a terrible movie, because there's so many good things in it still that are in the inner workings of it that are making it a fun and enjoyable and really emotionally impactful film to watch.
Yeah, and speaking of Batman, I remember as a kid, I was a diehard Batman fan, and my parents took me to see Batman and Robin. I was really excited to see the movie, loved the character of Batman. And when I was watching that movie, I was like, Mom, why is there nipples on this? And what's Arnold Schwarzenegger doing looking like an ice cube? And even as a young kid, as much as I love Batman, I came to the conclusion that wasn't the best interpretation of the character of Batman, and it was an awful movie. But thank God for that awful movie, because years later we got Batman Begins, and that was the Batman that we didn't need, but the one that we all deserved.
Exactly. And so our point with all of this is that I think it's perfectly fine to be a fanboy over a character, or over a film series, or a director, or an actor. It's just you have to maintain that part of your brain that allows you to recognize when it wasn't good. Like Indiana Jones is like my favorite movie hero of all time, but I have to recognize that the fourth one really dropped the ball. So there's a major difference between fanboying over something and fanboying over something, because it's cool. Everyone's a fan of something. Everyone has that one TV show or a character or a movie that they love, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to acknowledge when one of the episodes sucked or one of the characters did something that just doesn't make sense for that character. I think our main point we're trying to make is that we want great movies. We want great films. And for studios and directors to make great films, they have to hear our constructive criticism. That comes from love. We love movies and we want them to be good. So it's coming from a good place. We want films to be good. And to make better films, we have to want better films and not just be okay with the average, mediocre whatever.
So guys, the best thing you can do when you go to see a movie, don't turn off your brain, just open up your eyes.
Well guys, that's our discussion on fanboying. I want to try to do more things like this with John when I visit him or when he visits me. If you guys enjoyed this discussion, we'll try to do more fun stuff like this, but definitely check out John's videos. He makes a lot of movie reviews, Blu-ray discussions, movie news discussions, as well as his other channel in which he goes to movie stores, looks at Blu-rays, and does fun vlogs. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine.
Thanks for the nice words, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by the Flick Cave and having me in your video.
And as always, if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.